My name is Rabbi Josh Foster, the Education Engagement Rabbi at B'nai Jeshurun Congregation, and I'm glad that you can join me for our topic this evening, the origins of the Tikkun Leil Shavuot, steeped in Kabbalah. The year was 1533. The place, Thessaloniki, Greece. Two prominent rabbis living there, Yosef Karo and Shlomo Alkabetz, made a pact for the eve of Shavuot. They would attempt to stay up all night studying Torah. This was not something they had ever attempted, nor was it common practice by anyone in their time. But as rabbis steeped in Kabbalah, mystical lore, they had come to understand the critical importance of what they were about to undertake. While we could spend years and years studying Kabbalah, its basic premise is rooted in our most basic understandings about God. When children ask us about God, we often explain that God is everywhere. Kabbalists will argue that if God is everywhere, the converse must also be true, that everywhere and everything is God. Think about that for a minute. If everything is God, that means we, you and I, are also a part of God. The Kabbalists, in fact, discuss 10 different emanations of God to encompass everything in the universe. For the purpose of our learning right now, however, we will focus on just two: the immanent God, that is, God's presence in and around us here on earth, and the transcendent God, in other words, God as King in heaven above. While we all know there is but one God, indeed, we say this every day when we recite the Shema, Kabbalists recognize there is a disconnect between the immanent God and the transcendent God. Just as our ancestors were exiled from our land after the destruction of the temple, they argue so too is God exiled from God's self. As representatives of the immanent God, God's presence here on earth, we play an active role in elevating ourselves in order to bring God into harmony with God's self. We do this through the performance of mitzvot and Jewish ritual. As the Kabbalah scholar David Ariel writes in his book, The Mystic Quest in Judaism, quote, "Every ritual aspect of the Jewish liturgical year is related to this unification and to the restoration of divine harmony. The Jewish mystics believe that each element in Jewish observance is a divinely constructed guide to theurgic action leading to unity and restoration. In his own eyes, the Jewish mystic differs from the non-mystic practitioner of Judaism in that he performs the rituals of Judaism with a consciousness of their ultimate purpose. The Jewish mystic thereby transforms all of Judaism into an intricately woven pattern of actions that lead him to the culmination of the mystic quest." In other words, those who have studied Kabbalah understand that we do not perform mitzvot only because God commands them, or because they seem the right and proper thing to do. Indeed, we should do them for those reasons as well. But we also perform them in order to help restore a divine harmony, which will in turn bring harmony to the world. Now wait a minute. What does any of this have to do with our rabbis, Yosef Karo and Shlomo Alkabetz, and staying up all night to study on the eve of Shavuot? Well, you see, as rabbis learned in Kabbalah, Karo and Alkabetz wanted to do everything in their power to ensure that divine harmony. And they knew that the pinnacle, indeed the culmination of the work of unifying God, occurs on Shavuot. Shavuot is the moment when heaven and earth meet, the day when Moses and the Jewish people receive the Torah and the 10 Commandments from God. In other words, when the immanent God unites with the transcendent God. In fact, according to the well-known Midrash in the Talmud, every Jewish person, past, present, and future, representing for those writing in this Midrash the full extent of God's presence here on earth. Everyone was at Mount Sinai to receive the Torah on that day. Because of this moment of connection between the Jewish people and God, Shavuot is described in Kabbalistic literature as a wedding ceremony. In fact, the concept of a wedding between God and the people of Israel is evident already well over 1,000 years before Alkabetz and Caro's time. A prime example of this union is the biblical book Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, which on its surface appears to be love poetry between a young man and woman in love. The book is interpreted by the early rabbis, however, to actually be speaking about the relationship between the Jewish people and God. And an early Midrash on Shir HaShirim notes that God came to Mount Sinai in the morning and saw the people sleeping. When they should have been preparing themselves to receive their king, they instead seem not to care and are caught off guard when God arrives. Alkabetz and Caro are determined not to make the same mistake. And even the concept that studying Torah can help bring about change, can help bring about divine harmony, is present among the early rabbis as well, as evidenced in the Midrash in Vayikra Rabbah. Quote, Ben Azai was sitting and expounding on verses of Torah, and he told his students the words of Torah were as joyous as the day they were given at Sinai. In this passage, Ben Azai is causing real physical change through his study. That real physical change is what Alkabetz and Caro were after. The word Tikkun means to fix or repair, to return something that has been damaged to its original, complete state. By studying all night, they would adorn themselves with the words of Torah in preparation for uniting with God, just like a bride might adorn herself in jewels in preparation for uniting with her groom. Thus, they would ensure God would be returned to God's complete original state. But perhaps it was more than that Alkabetz and Caro were interested in. The Zohar, the central book on Kabbalah, states that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a Kabbalistic leader, was sitting and immersing himself in Torah study at night, during the night when the bride unites with her groom. The Zohar continues, however, to teach that, quote, all of the company of the bride's court are needed that night so that the bride will be ready to join under the chuppah in union with God the next day. The commentators on the Zohar explain that the members of the company of the bride's court are those wise, righteous ones, i.e., those like Alkabetz and Caro, who have learned and will study with the bride the secrets of Torah. In reward for what the members of the bride's courts have done, according to the Zohar, quote, God blesses them and adorns them in the adornments of the bride. Happy is their portion. Following Shimon Bar Yochai's teaching in the Zohar, it would be particularly attractive for someone steeped in Kabbalah to stay up all night on the night of Shavuot to study the proper texts, because they would know that study is not only an opportunity to ensure God's unity and divine harmony, but part of that divine harmony is uniting themselves with God, the mystic's ultimate goal. And indeed, it appears Yosef Karo and Shlomo Alkabetz got their wish. Alkabetz wrote following their Tikkun Leil Shavuot, the first ever recorded, that late in the night a strange voice spoke through the mouth of Yosef Karo. It must have been the voice of the Mishnah itself, he recounts. The voice tells all those gathered that their learning has reached God. God blesses them for the good work they are doing and urges them to move to the land of Israel, where God will sustain them and bless them and their homes with peace. Ultimately, this is exactly what Caro and Alkabetz do. They make Aliyah and move to the city of Tzfat, helping ignite what becomes a golden age for Kabbalah in the city. Yosef Karo went on to write what quickly became the most authoritative compendium on Jewish law, the Shulchan Aruch. And Shlomo Alkabetz, for his part, was instrumental in the creation of the Kabbalat Shabbat service, welcoming in Shabbat, and writing the now well-known prayer Lecha Dodi. In fact, you can look at the first letter of each stanza as he wrote it as an acronym to spell out his name, Shlomo Halevi. It is likely that the results and success of this first ever recorded Tikkun Leil Shavuot led to its widespread popularity. First in 1533, but still in the 16th century, a prominent rabbi in Tzfat, Rabbi Avraham Galenti, wrote of Shavuot, quote, "At night after eating, everyone gathers in the synagogues, every congregation in his own synagogue, and they don't sleep the entire night. They read Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, Mishnayot, Zohar, and interpretations of verses until the light of dawn." And in a prominent book on Jewish practice and traditions from the end of the 17th century, Chemdat Yamim, a section on Tikkun Leil Shavuot states, quote, "It is a widespread custom in all the diaspora of Israel to not sleep on the night of this holy holiday, and to study all night Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, and the oral Torah." The sources indicate here that within 100 years, the Tikkun Leil Shavuot grew from Yosef Karo and Shlomo Alkabetz trying something that had never been attempted before, to being widely practiced across the Jewish world. Today, with hundreds participating in our congregation alone, it is safe to say that Alkabetz and Karo were onto something big. And through our studying this Shavuot, may we all merit the blessings promised to those at this very first Tikkun. I hope you enjoyed this presentation this evening, and it was a pleasure having you join me. Chag Sameach.